Good morning and happy birthday to the Buddha, because today is April the 8th, and this, in the northeastern tradition, the Zen tradition, is the commemoration of the Buddha's birthday. And here we are in spring, so it's obviously an apt time to be celebrating a birth or a rebirth. As spring is, obviously. We also have a new moon and an eclipse, at least in America anyway. And given that everybody online, not everybody, but there's the usual talk online that the world should be ending today with the eclipse, which is actually an old mythological take on eclipses. It seems very fortuitous, therefore, that we have the Buddha's rebirth or the Buddha's birth here on this day as well. So just wanted to make this short video to commemorate the fact of the Buddha's birthday, and perhaps to begin with, just to tell the opening story really of the Buddha's birth. So the story goes, his mother was Queen Maya, his father was King Suddhodana. Obviously, he was born into the Shakya clan. The Shakya kingdom borders what is now modern-day Nepal and India in the northeast of the country, northeast India. And the story goes that Queen Maya had a dream, and in this dream, a white elephant approached her and entered through the left side of her torso. And when she woke up, obviously people put a lot of status on dreams then, more than perhaps now. And so when she became pregnant shortly afterwards, she put two and two together, and everybody realized that this was going to be a very fortuitous birth. And this sort of fortuitous birth idea, or great miraculous birth, or great portents around a birth, is a very common theme around in mythology and legends, around the birth of a hero. This is something that Joseph Campbell, the American mythologist, wrote a lot about. Maybe you've read his Hero with a Thousand Faces. And of course, the Buddha is an heroic figure, a great spiritual hero. In fact, those who have come across the translation of the Transmission of the Lamp will, these are the stories of the early Chan masters. You'll also read that the early Chan masters also had great portents around their birth as well. That book is, although it's a series of books, the Records of the Transmission of the Lamp, translated by Randolph Whitfield, which you can get if you're interested. Anyway, so this was a great portent, and obviously when it was time for her for her confinement, she was due to go and stay in her parents' house, because this is the way it was done. When a woman was giving birth, she would leave her husband's home and then go. She would be looked after, by her mother and the women of her own home. And so she was on the way to that home from the palace when she was caught short in the Lumbini Gardens, and surrounded by her handmaidens and ladies in waiting. It's said that she gave birth to the baby Buddha, who emerged from her right side. So the elephant goes in through to the left, and the baby Buddha emerges through her right side. And she was standing holding a tree. And the baby emerged. And it said that the baby Buddha took 7 steps in each of the 4 cardinal directions, north, south, west, and east, raised one hand to heaven, pointed one to earth, and declared, "Between heaven and earth, I alone am the world-honoured one." Quite a miraculous thing for a newborn baby to do. And in fact, if you go to Buddhist countries like Japan, for example, today, if you go to, you will see that people will be going to Buddhist temples, bringing flowers, which is commonly done on the Buddha's birthday, to deck the shrines out. And there on the shrine, there will be a statue of a baby Buddha with one hand pointing to heaven and one hand pointing to earth. And it's very much a children's festival, very joyous time. And basically what people do is that they either pour tea or pour a ladle of water over the baby Buddha, and they make a wish. And so, which is, obviously a nice little ritual to do. And But what I wanted to just talk briefly about a little bit today was this: what does all this mean? I mean, what are we actually supposed to make of it? Well, again, going back to Joseph Campbell, he made the point that miraculous births in this way don't signify a physical birth. Obviously, they signify a spiritual birth. These the birth of the spiritual impulse or spiritual consciousness. But what exactly does that mean? Well, in Buddhism, probably twofold, really. One is that there is this acknowledgement in the practice and in the Buddha's way of something that's called the bodhicitta. And bodhi means awakening or enlightenment, and chitta means the heart or consciousness. And this refers to the impulse to want to follow the Buddha's way. So this motivation, it's the motivational practice. And in fact, in Tibetan Buddhism, they have various meditations for developing bodhicitta, because it's the bodhicitta that carries us, so to speak, along the Buddha's way and gives us the strength to actually do so. So this is something that's obviously very important. And therefore we could see the emergence of the Buddha, the birth of the Buddha, as being the emergence of this impulse, of this aspiration of the heart to walk the Buddha's way towards Buddhahood itself. But I think also we could also say that this consciousness is also referring to the development of what is called sati. This is the word that's translated into English as often as mindfulness, or we could just say awareness, or mindful awareness. And this, obviously, there's a sutra or sutta in the Pali Canon devoted to this called the Satipatthana. And sati, which is this word awareness, Satipatthana means the foundations of awareness. And the Buddha, so I wanted to read from this book, which is The Heart of Buddhist Meditation by Nyanaponika Mahathera. He was a German, but he ordained as a bhikkhu. And he wrote really this excellent book in the 1940s. I think it was in the late 40s it was published, which contains the sutta, the Satipatthana, but also he gives his excellent commentary on it. And if you want a really good commentary on this sutra, I would still recommend this book. He actually wrote it, obviously, at a time when Westerners wouldn't have had access to Dharma centers and temples or on anything online, obviously. And so this book was for people who couldn't go to a temple or meet a bhikkhu or meet a teacher to practice at home if they wanted to. But really what I wanted to read out is just the openings or the opening paragraph or two from this sutta, which goes like this. This is the sole way, monks, for the purification of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the destroying of pain and grief, for reaching the right path, for the realization of nibbana, which is Pali for nirvana, which is the Sanskrit term, namely the four foundations of mindfulness. What are these four? Herein, a monk dwells practicing body contemplation on the body, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, having overcome covetousness and grief concerning the world. He dwells practicing feeling contemplation on feelings, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, having overcome covetousness and grief concerning the world. He dwells practicing mind contemplation on the mind, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, having overcome covetousness and grief concerning the world. He dwells practicing mind object contemplation on mind objects, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, having overcome covetousness and grief concerning the world. So, couple of things there. Hopefully we can recognize our daily life practice in there. I mean, obviously the Satipatthana, the four foundations, divvies it up into those four categories, but this is just, giving, when I give myself wholeheartedly into what at this moment is being done, the awareness is there, this awareness that is called sati. And so, but it's also interesting, the other point was that he begins this passage by saying, this is the sole way, monks, this is the sole way, or this is the only way. And this mirrors, the baby Buddha, who says, between heaven and earth, I alone am the world honored one. Well, What is this I alone? Well, if this is the sole way, and that this must be also the I alone of the world-honored one. So the baby Buddha actually represents also this development of sati, this development of awareness. And obviously, it being a baby, it's not reached its full potential. It has a way to go. A baby has to become a child, has to become an adolescent, has to become an adult. And so it is also with our practice of Satipatthana, our cultivation of awareness. That also has to be developed. And at the beginning, in our meditation, but also in our daily life practice, which is meditation in activity anyway, it has to become stabilized. To begin with, it's childlike, it's infantile, it's intermittent. It can't walk yet. It has to develop legs. And so through our continual cultivation, this is the path that we take, which is that cultivation, that raising of the child. And this is that child, of course, is sati. And once that child has grown up, then it delivers us. It delivers us from the suffering, because now we are conscious of the causes and conditions of suffering, and we're also conscious of the causes and conditions of not planting any more seeds that will ripen in the future into further suffering. And this is the Buddha's way. This, as he says, the sole way for the elimination of suffering. So again, perhaps today in your sitting, perhaps just give a thought to remembering that it's the Buddha's birthday. If you do have a shrine, maybe you could put a flower up there just in commemoration, and wish him happy birthday. Okay, thank you very much.